Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And I want to talk about a little bit of magic. And the magic is my new friend that we're bringing onto the show today. I met her on Facebook. Her name is Anita Pacho, and she is a flight attendant and she's a medium. And just one thing I want to mention about Facebook. I know there's plenty of social media sites out there, but it's the one I'm on most. And I just started a Facebook group called We Don't Die Listeners. And like I met Anita just magically, seem to meet the right people. I want to encourage you to join our community and be part of it. I think we're going to meet some best friends for life. And I know not everyone can meet me in person this September, but I will be speaking at the Afterlife Research and Education Symposium in September in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'd love to meet you there, of course, too, in person. You can find out about that on afterlifestudies.org. Anyways, back to our show. I know I'm all over the place because I'm excited because Anita and I have been messaging each other for quite a few weeks now, and we have become friends. So I am super excited that she's a medium, and I'm excited that she's just got a lot of love in her heart. I love having this new pen pal, and I just know you needed to meet her. One thing about Anita is she is passionate about sharing the fact that the spirit world does exist and that they give us encouragement and strength to believe in ourselves. And that's where the real treasure of life can be found. So today she's coming to us from the Loire Valley in France. So Anita Pacho, welcome to We Don't Die Radio.
I'm delighted to be with you, Sandra. Thank you for this opportunity.
It's so great to talk to someone voice to voice when we've been messaging each other for so long. This is cool.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't even know where we first met. Was it on the Arthur Findlay website or the Facebook group? I don't even remember.
I am not sure. I think I made a comment on you were talking about mentioning Scott Milligan,
Oh, Scott
and
Milligan.
I am such a big fan of him as a person and his work.
Yes.
That I just wanted to thank you for speaking highly about him.
Oh, thanks. And for those who don't know, Scott Milligan is one of the few physical mediums. Well, I'm sure there's more than a few on this planet, but he's one that is open and he teaches and he's just as authentic and loving as can be. Yes, he's fantastic. His website is scottmilligan.net if people want to find out more about him. Well, Anita, how does your story begin? You're over in France, and I know you travel a lot. You're a flight attendant.
I am. I've been for the last 25 years.
Wow, terrific.
Yes,
Yeah.
a long time, and at the same time, a very short time because time goes by so quickly.
Doesn't it, though? Yeah, I ain't sure. But you are definitely a global woman. And
Almost.
now, are you from France originally?
I am. I was born in France, but from Spanish parents.
Okay.
And my story starts almost 47 years ago in Paris, where I was born, from a Spanish father and mother. And my Spanish parents were immigrants, hard workers, and having very much the priority of work in mind. A mother who was a devoted Catholic and a father not really wanting a religion.
Mm.
My mother had constantly premonition dreams, and her mother, my grandma, I found out much later after her departure, was a medium and a healer. And she played an important role in her small village in the mountains in some part of Spain, where she was assisting people who were mourning the departure of a loved one. She also had knowledge of plants and was able to communicate with nature. Being in two different cultures and between two parents, that one was religious, the other was not, I I knew from an early age that there were choices to be able to make.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was in different cultures, and that allowed me to perceive the world through different angles. Um, and if I may go now in the future, a few
Sure.
years ago, thank you. A few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, I had this strange recollection from my childhood. I think I was about 3 or 4. I saw myself very, very young. And I had the ambience of my house where I was living as a child. And I felt very much an observer of my world, an observer also of my parents. And I had this very strong knowledge that I came from somewhere else and I was here just for a time being, that my parents were borrowed and they were not God, but just people with who I would pass a certain time and learn important lessons in life. So I very much been um, feeling much more being in the spirit world than really in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, my job, you don't have your feet on the ground; you're kind of in the air,
Yes.
and in a place where time doesn't really exist. You know where you depart from, you know where you land, but in between is like unknown territory, and you don't know how the ambience is going to be.
Right.
That those 25 years being a flight attendant has been teaching me so much about human beings, faith, but also about two other things. And you just mentioned one of them, which was quite amazing. You used the word magic at the very beginning. And I really feel my life has been full of magic and miracles.
Oh.
Um, so many of them. As a little girl, I had lots of experiences. I was sometimes put in certain situations were a little bit difficult emotionally for me,
Okay.
and I experience light. I experience words. Experience warmth from the spirit world, who were just coming closer to me, reassuring me, guiding me, and letting me know that all that had a reason to be. I would grow up, I would make my choices, I would have my life. And this was a very strong learning process. And I keep that very dear to me. For me, spiritual world, it's not a thing that I try to convince others. I came to this world knowing that I came from somewhere else, don't know where exactly, but not from the vibration where we are right now, and that we all connected. I feel that very strongly. Um, I in my childhood, spiritual world was there every day.
Wow.
Every day, giving me signs, talking to me. Um, I mean, it was just very vibrant, and I enjoyed very much being on my own. At school, I didn't really find my place with others. I didn't find their games to be fun and enjoyable. I was kind of, the little bit of a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Not only I was kind of a foreigner, but I was also a bit of a stranger. And every time I felt a bit of sadness because of that, I had this warmth, guidance reassuring me like, no, you are unique, you're special, don't worry, your time will come for you to understand why you feel so out of place. Then in my teenage years, I kind of lost. I was probably too busy. with studies, your body's changing,
Being a teenager.
being a teenager. Then I moved to a different school in another part of France. I did a hotel management school. And then I started living in England, where I worked in the hotel industry. And when I arrived in England, suddenly all this magic from the spiritual world came back and resonated again and was very present. And many years ago, I remember I was a housekeeper at the Waldorf Hotel in London, and I had so many experiences in that hotel. It was just definitely magical and unbelievable.
Like what kind of experience do you mean?
For example, I was working in that hotel and I was living in the premises. The very last floor of the hotel was a staff accommodation, so lots of rooms for different employees. And this was a very strong experience. One evening, I was almost ready to switch off the light and sleep and close my eyes. And I was just, I think, flicking the pages of a magazine, and I throw the magazine on the floor. I switch off the light. I just put my head on the pillow, and almost a few seconds afterwards, not even had time to fall asleep, I started hearing this beautiful music. The sound was so the sound was like crystal clear. It was like angelic voices, and I was thinking, oh, how beautiful this music is, but where does it come from? I was wondering where that sound came from. And your mind is such a clever computer. It quickly detects, like an alarm signal. Okay, we've got a problem here. What's the solution? And I was thinking, okay, does the music come from my neighbor, from next door? And I thought, no, next door is the bathroom, and on the right-hand side, I had no neighbor. And I thought, it doesn't come from the corridor. And suddenly I realized the music was coming from inside of me.
Wow.
The music was not outside, going inside my ears. It was inside of me, coming out of my ears.
Incredible.
And I thought, how can that be? I mean, this is just impossible. That's when I feel we are so limited with our understanding. Even with great imagination, we don't allow sometimes things to take place. Anyway, the music was so beautiful. It totally relaxed me. I was almost floating. I thought, oh, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It's just so beautiful. And I was floating for a few seconds. As the music was starting fading away, suddenly I have this face of a lady next to my face on a pillow. Now, just to remind you, I switched off the light. And I'm thinking, if I'm in the dark, how can I see the head of this lady?
Yes.
Like there's a bulb inside her head. I mean, she's so luminous. And I thought, oh my God, she must be here for a purpose. Maybe I need to play a role. Maybe I need to do something. And I was like, okay, pay attention. She's talking, trying to understand what she's saying. And she was not looking at my eyes. She was looking below, and she was speaking rapidly. I could not understand. And not my patience, but before I got scared or starting to panic, I started asking her, please go away, because you're scaring me. I don't know who you are, but you need to go. I don't know what you're saying. I can't help you out. And suddenly, as she disappeared, the beautiful music came back. And I felt like, oh, I can relax once more. This music is just so beautiful. And I totally floated again a second time. As the music again started disappearing, this woman appeared again. Now, the second time, I ran out of possibilities. So I was less patient with her, and I hope she has forgiven me. But I quickly asked her to leave because I could not deal with the problem. So she disappeared. The music was back again. And then as the music left me completely, I I don't know how, but I had this awareness that the music wasn't coming back and the lady wasn't coming back. So I jumped out of my bed, switched on the lights, and then I was walking in the corridor like a crazy woman until someone saw me and thought, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you? You
Sure.
are white like snow." It's
Hmm.
some and in the morning when I woke up, I had no recollection at all about what took place in the evening. So I was a housekeeper there. I started my work in the morning, and when we had our first coffee break with the other housekeepers in that morning, one of them said, "So, how was your last evening? Did you all had a good time?" My goodness, did not play magic, those words. I went back and I felt everything like in a very high speed.
Hmm.
It was only a few seconds, but I became totally white, and so my colleagues were a little bit worried, and they asked me, "Oh, are you all right, Anita?" And I thought, I don't care if I'm going to be ridiculous. I'm going to tell them what took place, what happened.
Okay.
And I think that day I really made a decision of not caring if I look ridiculous to people, if um, if my stories, some people don't believe them. It's fine. You never know where you're going to plant a little seed. Someone is listening to you, and
True.
maybe that can help them discreetly. So anyway, as I'm telling them my story, one of them says to me, "Anita, don't worry. You are not crazy. By the way, I had your room before you were in that room, and I also saw the lady a few times. So just to let you know, you're okay."
Wow.
I know. And that was wonderful to hear because I thought, oh, that's I knew magic existed.
Right.
I knew things can happen. I know very little, but I am so ready to learn so much more.
Wow. Did that
Yeah.
start you on the journey of, did she ever come back, the woman? Or no?
No, no, she didn't. Other things took place, like this hotel. We had several rooms in winter. We could not heat them. We had the heat full blast, but it just the rooms were not able to be allocated to any clients because the room was freezing inside. So it was well known that we had a few, they called them at that time ghosts.
Yes.
So we had a few presents there in that hotel, and that hotel is touching the Dudley Theatre in London, where is one of the most haunted theatres in London. When a play is going to be successful, before it's shown to the public, the very last a play between actors and no public. There is a ghost that comes on the first floor and salutes the actors. And where that takes place, that means the play will be very successful.
Wow. What is the name of the playhouse that happens, the theater?
Dudley, the Dudley Theatre in
Dudley
London.
Theater. Wow. Incredible. Oh,
I know.
can I ask you, when you were a child and you very much knew the spirit world was real and you were getting these messages, did you see them? Did you hear them? Did you just feel them? I mean,
Right.
I know it's hard
Yeah,
as a kid because that's your normal life. So you just believed everything.
absolutely. This is a very good question. Well, I did not see as we see with our eyes. I didn't see faces. The only thing I saw a few times were beams of light, like discs of beaming white light. And there were several of them, and they were coming closer and closer to me and surrounding me. And telepathically, they were talking to me. I was not hearing a voice from my ears. It was, they were making sentences and giving me a clear message. And I was hearing it, I think, through my imagination. They were, impressing words and ideas. I heard, I think, only twice, very clearly, a voice. And that happened on two specific situations. One of them, I had a sister at the age of 10, but before I had no sister, no brothers, and I was very much wanting to have a sister or a brother. And my parents left me at home alone at a very young age. They had to go to work, and I'm glad nothing happened to me.
Of course.
But yes, and I was pretty well behaved. But what happened when my mother would lock the door with a key, few seconds later, the room where I was got filled with people. Those people were not looking at me, were not talking to me, but I could see them, and they were much older. I felt like being in a retired home because there were parties of 2, parties of 4, parties of 3, and they had their own activities. Some women were doing the crochet, some men were playing the cards, etc., Scrabble, and they were really not looking at me, but I knew the space was filled with those people. And so I knew I was not alone. And sometimes I found this way of being alone by opening 1 or 2 umbrellas and putting scarves covering the umbrellas, going inside and feeling like I had a little tent. I was camping on my own. And when my mother would return, I would say to her, who are those people that they come when you leave? And I don't know, she was just shocked that I said something like that. She was like, there are no people coming here. What are you talking about? And I thought, oh, I better keep this for myself. I guess she doesn't see them, so she doesn't believe me. And on one situation, I was talking to the spiritual world, and I was asking them for a sister. And I was almost crying and really demanding one, and on and on and on. And I think I tired them up. And I suddenly heard a noise. It was a man's voice, and it was kind of authoritative. And he made me stop immediately. He said, "We heard you." Just like that. And I thought, oh my God, I dare not ask again. I think they really got the message this time. And then my mom fell pregnant, and I had a sister.
So they listened. Anita, this sounds so interesting because even myself, I'm on my own spiritual journey, as we all are, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to pay attention to voices that come inside me or into my mind that's different than the normal voice that's in my mind, little chatterbox that's
Yeah.
always talking. And every so often there's this voice of just, I don't know, it sounds wise. It sounds like an idea that I normally wouldn't have. And I'm going to just trust my gut instinct that that's the spirit world or my guides or whomever. But to know that it's possible to see like you're seeing or to
Yeah.
hear like you've heard or even to
Mhm.
hear that music, like that's possible.
Yes, yes. And when you witness any moment that sounds um, different or coming from somewhere else, what I do is I wrap it with love. I send love. As soon as I do that, they give it back to me 10 times stronger. When I feel that bigger, I know they answering me.
When you
I
feel
know, yes, I know the voice is not mine. I know
right.
that that thought wasn't really mine. It was impressed on me to take or to think about it. But what I do is I'm grateful for it. I say thank you, and then I send love, and there is an immediate reaction when it comes from spirit world, and you react that way. It's just like you know you're in the presence of something.
And love is so powerful, probably the most powerful thing. You know, there's a story, true story, that in the early days when people would run marathons, um, the fastest man alive, I don't know how fast he went because I'm not a runner, but no one could run a marathon uh, in less than 4 minutes or something like that. Or it was
Right.
always over 4 minutes, and it just couldn't be done. And so one day, I think his first name was Bill. I don't remember the last name. People can look that up. But this man actually ran a mile in 4 minutes. And so because he did it, all of a sudden it became normal that everybody could do it.
Mm.
And not everybody, you had to train, of course. But when we when we believe something's impossible, it is impossible. When
Yeah.
we believe it is possible and somebody
Mhm.
else does it, suddenly that opens up a new world. So by the experience you're sharing, it now has planted a seed in my mind and everybody's mind who's listening that these kind of things are possible for us.
Yeah, allowing the
Yeah,
possibility.
yeah, very
You know,
good.
believing comes with experience
Hmm.
and comes with other steps, but allowing the possibility that we know so little, and the truth and the reality of what surrounds us is so much bigger than what we can imagine. Allowing that enables us to live magic every day.
Oh, I like the sounds of magic every day, every day. But we have to look for it. We do have to look for it sometimes and allow it to be there. But you know, it's so interesting because time goes by so fast in life, and it doesn't matter whether you're 20 years old or
Yes.
90 years old right now. We are all on our own individual adventures, right?
Yes, and I think, I mean, that's my belief. Our body ages, but our spirit has no age.
I like it.
Especially when you're involved with spiritual world, when you have this really strong belief that you will go somewhere after the phase of dying. Dying
Hmm.
is transformation. Dying is just a passage. I think our soul, our spirit, that doesn't age. It just gets more experience and more understanding and more tolerance and stretches every time a bit more.
Hmm. When did you, how do I ask this? I mean, as a young person, you knew the spirit world was around, but when did you get involved with actually being able to work with people and prove to them through
Hmm.
your words that their loved ones are still around? How did that develop for you?
Um, well, at school, sometimes I was speaking to teachers or friends in my class, and I knew the words didn't come from me. And sometimes they looked at me in a weird way. And I remember one day this boy said to the teacher, "She speaks weird. She speaks really funny.
Mhm.
She speaks like an old woman." And and sometimes I knew I was not in charge of the words I was saying.
Really?
Yes, so that really I was conscientious of that.
Hmm.
Very much. Then in different jobs I had, hotel industry or flying, I I feel very much sometimes that takes place too. I say things to people, and after I say them, I realize what I just said, and I think, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I feel they accompany me, and through me, they touch people constantly, and I'm delighted. I'm delighted to extend my my arm, my hand, so I can touch a human being. I love that.
Well, and you're definitely in the service business. It's interesting. Somebody just wrote to me not too long ago, and they don't know what their mission in life is, kind of their
Mhm.
spiritual mission. And I just had the advice, look to see what it is you're already doing and what you're passionate about, and look for a common denominator.
That's right.
Because even for me, I'm a chef. I feed people, caterer, day job, and then doing this show and writing the book. But the common denominator is making a difference with people, helping people in their lives, whether it's through food or inspiration or education, and
Yes.
all that. So you are definitely in the service business.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. And working with public teaches you enormously. You have instincts that develop, and you also develop your psychic abilities, possibilities, working with public. It's not really what we do; it's how we do it. I think it doesn't matter that we clean a street
Mm,
or serve a table in a restaurant or dictate orders to 1,000 employees, is how much love we put in it.
beautiful
How do we
words.
impact the others? How we inspire the ones who need guidance? I think that's really the work. It's not about the job, but how we do it.
Beautiful. I've just had a memory. I'd gone on vacation once, and I was on a cruise, and we stopped at a beach that everybody could spend a few hours. And there was a security guard there, old man, and I ended up saying hello to him. And he, out of his mouth, Anita, came the most
Yeah.
beautiful words of inspiration about living life. And I
Oh,
thought, where did you learn that? What book did you learn that? Did you learn that at a course? He says, no. He says, I've always lived here and I've worked on the beach. And he says, the waves taught it to me. All the hours he spent just looking at the waves, like this inspiration came. And
beauty.
yeah,
Yeah, and probably he said those words because your heart needed to hear
yeah, it
them.
was, yes, exactly. Perfect words to
Mhm.
hear.
Yes. Yes, sometimes we hear the most magical words from total strangers
Hmm.
and people that we're not going to see ever again. But for those minutes that we spend together is going to help us to evaluate.
Oh, it's true. And other people may have no idea that someone's speaking through them. We just think, oh, they must be our idea, and we just speak the words that come into our minds. Really, kind of like earth angels, so to speak.
That's right. That's right.
Hmm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
did you teach? Did you actually learn mediumship? Because I know you are a medium, and you don't just fly the friendly skies, but you work with clients and do medium readings. Is that something that came natural, or did you train for that?
Right. Very good question. Well, as in my early 20s, lots of experiences were taking place, and I didn't know what to do with it and where that was taking me and why it was happening to me. Um, and I will later touch on how I became a spiritualist. But before that, um, how it started? Well, I all those things were happening to me, and I sincerely didn't know if I was losing it a bit. Yeah. And then what happened is September 11th happened, and for my company and and lots of people around the world. It had a huge impact. The following 2 years after that tragedy, my life totally changed. For those 2 years, I became like a sponge. As a flight attendant, every passenger was coming on the plane, I could feel all the anguish and the stress they had, and the terrible things that might have happened to them. I was not seeing joy or happiness. I was absorbing all the difficulties passengers on board.
Wow.
So just to imagine, when I was getting to my room in a hotel, I was so drained out, so tired, so sad, that I was doing something kind of strange, but that was my only recipe to be able to get some sleep. I would feel a bath, and I would put my head under the water as long as I could. And when I would come out, I was able to actually fall asleep, because I was kind of fainting in my bed. But that was my only way of recovering from the fatigue of flying. For 2 years, I was absorbing emotional sides of passengers, and that was very, very disturbing.
And not healthy. I can't
And
imagine.
no healthy at all. And I had no one to talk to about this,
Right.
because I thought, if I speak to a colleague of mine, my God, they're going to think you need medication, and they're going
Yeah.
to put me in a house, and I'll be locked up, and I'll have no life.
Right.
And I was very lonely for those 2 years. And I for flight attendants in Flight 93, I knew them pretty well, so it really impacted me that time.
Yes, sure.
So after that, I joined a college of psychic studies in London, in South Kensington.
Okay.
And I went to my very first course during 3 months. It was once a week for almost 2 hours. We were a small group. And after that early evening class, we would go for dinner, and we would talk about the exercises. And I thought, oh, finally a place where I feel comfortable, and I can share lots of things. And it gave me a lot of reassurance. And at the end of the 3 months, the teacher at that college, she mentioned to me, she asked me if I knew the Arthur Findlay College, and she said, well, I think it's a place for you. I think it'll be good if you go there. And I was 34 years old. I'm almost 47 now. And I went to my very first course at Arthur Findlay College, and the course was called, Are You a Medium? I thought, well, I need to find out.
That's a great name.
Yes, am I crazy? Am I a medium? I need medication, but right now I need to know. I need to know, because that's it. I can't continue any longer this way. So I went to this course, and on the 4th day, it was 1 week course. On the 4th day, I received my first message, my first contact. And you have no idea the joy I had. I think I was jumping, not touching the ceiling is quite high in that college.
Wait,
But
now you were the one giving the medium reading? Is that what you mean?
yes, I had my first message through
Oh.
someone in spirit
Okay.
on the 4th day of 1 week course. And
Do you remember what happened? Anything about what kind of information you saw or gave?
I don't remember the information, but I remember when after it took place, I had this beautiful teacher that I still have, Eileen Davis.
Oh, I know her. She's great.
She's the best. She's the best. She's just an angel. I said to her, "Oh, it's like on a foggy day, you in a car driving, and you see the panels, but you can't perceive straight away everything that's written on. So it's like the panel keeps coming, and you keep driving, and the second time you see a bit more, and the fourth time you see almost everything, and the fifth time you get it, and so on. And I said to her, it's almost like driving on a very foggy road.
Yes.
And she looked at me and she said, exactly, that is how it is. And I thought, wow, I had no idea it was going to be presented that way. I thought it would be much easier, like in movies where you see the person who sees so clearly, the spirit person, and hears her, doesn't need a phone. Yes, I can hear you 100%. Oh, no, that was very different. So I started like that. That was my first course. Then almost every year, I went for 1 or 2 courses.
Nice.
It was very interesting. Every time I would go for a course, I could see the evolution. I could see the changes. I could see things were much easier, smoother. And really, it was very much about abandoning me and just be at the service of the spiritual world, and not worrying about anything, letting everything go, not having filters, not be guarded, just relax, like you've had a hot chocolate and now you need to digest it. I won't say smoking because I don't smoke and I don't drink, but I do eat lots of chocolate.
Hot chocolate's good. Good example.
Exactly. I realized that the easier to communicate is totally to relax. And to have total trust and have confidence that when you send a beautiful intention, and when I say beautiful, it means wrapped with love. Intention is everything. Then everything takes place, and magic is there once more.
That's beautiful. Wow. When did you start actually having clients and being a medium that way?
Yes, good question. Well, I'm not hiding the fact that I started exercising with my colleagues at work. And I was telling them about my courses, and lots of them lined up to
Of course they did.
Yes, and I was so happy. I received so much encouragement. And, at the end of every session, every moment I had with a colleague, I'm sure I was the one who was the most surprised at what took place.
Mm-hmm.
So it started like that. I practiced a lot with my colleagues, my friends of friends, and then I started having colleagues of mine saying, well, Anita, we'd like to give you something, but we don't know what to give you. If it is a voucher, you need to put a price. And that's how it started for me to starting putting value to the work.
Yes.
It was a long process. It was a very long process. It was very difficult for me to value myself. Easier to value others than yourself.
Oh, we all know that?
Yeah. So really, to be serious with giving readings, I think it's about 3 years ago that things started.
So have you done medium readings at 30,000 feet in the air?
Well, magic again happens, Sandra, and sometimes I don't ask for it. Things out of the blue can take place in a very strange way. But yes, things have happened on flights that I had no control. It was completely out of my control.
Can you give an example?
Yes,
I'm just trying to visualize. It's fun listening to you and your stories.
Yeah.
So
Well, a colleague of mine that is a very dear, wonderful man, beautiful heart. I was working with him and we were serving drinks. So we in economy, the last cabin on the plane, and we're serving people. And I keep hearing words and names, and I'm thinking, this is weird. What is this about? And I felt it was very much connected with my colleague.
Okay.
And I won't mention the name. And I I I tried to keep it quiet and hoping that it would just go away.
Uh-huh.
And when we finished the service, we sat down, we started eating, and it came back. The voices came back again, and words and names. So I thought, okay, I have to be brave and find out for who is this for and why do I have this, and maybe if I mention quickly, this stops.
Right.
So I asked him, I'm sorry to mention this. I keep hearing this name and these words. I don't know if this relates to you. I mean, of course, if you don't want to talk about it or this is not about you, it's fine. I won't insist. So I mentioned to him, I have little memory now of what specifically it was.
That's okay.
And he looked at me. He didn't answer anything for long seconds, and he just kept looking at me, and I thought, okay, now he's going to say I'm totally freaking him out and I'm weirdo, and for the second service he's going to work on the other side with somebody else.
Of course.
So I'm thinking, okay, just say I can take it, no worries, just say what's in your mind. And he says to me, yes, I can take everything you're saying, of course. And what the weird thing was, he was not surprised. He was not surprised that I say those things to him. And he asked me for more.
Wow.
So it was a very interesting flight. I didn't see the time going by. I kept talking to him, and I was actually bringing out his childhood and the challenges and what he had to face. And I am very much an emotional person, so I feel emotions, and I felt him as a little boy, and I felt what he had to respond to, and I felt by transmitting what I was feeling, I was healing him. I was almost like holding his heart and saying, I know this heart has had some aches, and I'm sorry, but your heart is beautiful, and hold on to your heart. Be proud of who you are, because you're a beautiful soul. I felt very much like I was holding his heart and showing to him the beauty inside. It really stayed a magical flight, and I went on even further. I saw his previous job than being a flight attendant, and I had no idea what I had no clues. No one told me, and it gave me any information about his previous job. But I kept seeing someone and a certain physique and how it looked. I couldn't see the face, but he was very much showing me his posture. And I thought, what a strange thing to not show the face, not give me a name, but to show me how he's standing on a cane. And I thought, what a weird person. And I imitated what the spirit made me see. And he said to me, "Oh, I know exactly. I know exactly what that is." And when he gave me the explanation, I was uh, well, I think it took me a few days to recover because I thought, wow, if this is not a proof that communication with spirit will take place without you even being prepared,
Mm-hmm.
without you meditate, without you even sending the intention, just because it has a purpose and they need you. Wow, this was amazing. Well, before being a flight attendant, he was in charge of the dressing room, of the costumes, of the last tour of Michael Jackson.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. And I had a quite a humble, what's the word? Um, oh, I've forgotten the word now.
that's okay.
Um, um, a slap. Well, I received like a slap on my face.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, during the message I was giving to my colleague, I was told by this spirit that it had nothing to do with the abuse of children, and he made me aware that I did think he was guilty, and he just made clear to me that he was not, and I felt really bad. I realized our thoughts are so fragile and so important. You can think badly of someone you don't know, and because you believe the media and you believe the
Right.
influence around you,
Yeah.
you put a stamp on that person and you think, okay, you're guilty, you're a bad person. And I really had a slap on my face that day. It took me a while to recover from that. I sent a lot of sorries and please forgive me to that spirit. But that was lots of lessons I learned on that flight through this, thanks to this colleague.
It's amazing that the spirit world can be with us anywhere. So it can be
Yeah,
on the ground, it could be 30,000 feet in the air. There's probably a scuba diver that has gotten
yeah,
messages,
yeah,
things like that. And there's just something I want to just say, Anita, and this is to you and our listeners. I've had a lot of mediums on this show, and part of my ego worries that people will think, "Oh, am I trying to sell people services?" Well,
yeah,
there's two things. So no, I don't make any profit off sharing the mediums I talk to with the audience. The thing is I do know there's people grieving. I know it makes a difference to speak to someone and have them give you accurate information. I know that's very healing. But there's another reason is there are so many people in the spirit world that want to come through that the
yeah.
spirit world is looking for more mediums. And I
Mm-hmm.
keep hearing this loud and clear in my head right now. And like Anita went to the class, Are You a Medium? To find out if
Yes.
if anybody listening right now has just the same question in your mind, you probably are. And if you're not interested, you're not interested. I mean, you only follow things that you're passionate about. But if there's that little hint that you might be somebody interested in finding out more about mediumship and playing around with it and learning some of the basics and testing it out, it's time to jump in because there's so much pain and suffering on planet Earth. And could you imagine, being used and not even for pay? I mean, just to even be able to do this and help someone else and practice and things. So one of the other reasons I'm thinking about this Facebook group is that it'll give us a private place that we can explore, we can practice on each other, and learn more. And so
And exchange information,
yeah.
encourage each other. Yeah,
Yes. Because
yeah,
people have taken different courses, people have done different things, some people just beginning. How do I get started? And to have a group of people and from all over the world that are interested in in helping others, and by helping others, of course, we ultimately get healed ourselves, and nothing feels better, I don't think. I mean, how does it feel to you, Anita, when you are just right on and you can deliver a message to somebody's from their loved one?
Wow, it's like a firework inside of me that goes so high, and it touches the spirit world, and it's like we are hand in hand, and we say to each other, "Wasn't that wonderful?" I think the rewards are there are no words. There are no words. It's just an immense celebration.
Mm. I'm excited. I'm really excited about the future, and sharing, and we are all souls that are having this human experience right now. So yes, Anita's taken many courses and she's done a lot of practicing, but we all start somewhere. And
Absolutely.
if you
Yeah.
have that little nudge, like, let's play with this, let's see where it goes, and I want to make, not everyone can fly to the Arthur Findlay College. So through these episodes, I'm trying to bring the education so that we can start practicing. And then by having this Facebook group, it'll be a place where we trust each other, and it's okay to be wrong. And when we're okay with being wrong, and we can just, like you say, have that cup of hot chocolate and relax, that's the time where, the spirit can work through us. So, Anita, time's gone by fast, so it's just about time to wrap it up. But I want to just ask you, because I love that you sent me this in Facebook, just that the spirit world does exist, and that they give us encouragement and strength to believe in ourselves, and that's where the real treasure of life can be found. Could you just speak a little bit about believing in ourselves and maybe our journey here on Earth? Maybe this invisible support we have. Just leave us with some
Well, I'd like to leave you
inspiration.
with my one of the biggest miracles that happened to me and how I became a spiritualist.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Um, Many years ago, I was living in England, and I passed a spiritualist church, and I thought, "Oh, what is that?" And a few days later, I went for curiosity. I entered that spiritual church with only one person. We were only two and one medium. So imagine the face of the medium. She said, "Well, if I don't have a message for one of you, I think I should change job." Well, before I start telling you what happened as we sat down, 2 years previous to go to this spiritualist church, I was in Paris, and a friend of mine took me to this beautiful church, Rue du Bac in Paris. And she said to me, "Before we go, why don't you write down things that you need help with?" And I wrote 4 sentences. And I actually dedicated to Bernadette. And I asked Bernadette de Lourdes if you can grant me those 4 requests. I need help on this, and this. And so my friend introduced me to this church, and she said, "Okay, we place the request in this basket, and when they close the doors every day, priests actually read every request."
Wow.
So 2 years later, I am in this church. We sit down, and it's my very first experience, and I'm thinking, "What am I doing here? Oh, there is only another person. This is weird."
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, this is not a very successful business.
No.
Anyway, so the lady, she starts with singing together, and then straight away she looks at me and she says, I have a message for you." And I'm thinking, right, okay. I was not convinced of anything. I just didn't know what it was, what was going to really take place. She says to me, "I have a message, but it's not from a person from your family." And I thought, "Oh, well, that's great. How am I going to validate? You can just say anything you want."
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, this starts really well. let's be polite and wait until the end.
Yeah.
And then she says, well, she started feeling emotional and she says, oh, this is my very first time I have a message from a saint. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go, a saint now.
Crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was really making fun of her. And she says, well, do you know Bernadette de Lourdes? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, so does the whole planet knows who Bernadette de Lourdes is. And I'm thinking, okay, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
She says, well, didn't you ask something to her? And as she says that, I'm thinking, I ask her something?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is she talking about? And then I think my feet, left the ground because she said the full sentences. I
No.
wrote a piece of paper.
No.
Yes,
Really?
yes, I'm not kidding.
Oh,
I
goosebumps on
think
my
I went so
phone.
white. I went on a state of shock because the gentleman who was next to me, so I looked really, really pale. And the lady approached and she sat and she continued the message and she said, well, she's going to grant you those 4 wishes and she sends love to you, etc., etc. And then she looked at the gentleman and she said to him, I don't know if she drove or if she took the bus, but if she took the bus, I think you better drive her or help her to go home. Because I think I was completely, I looked,
Blown away.
yeah,
Yes.
yes. And so I went home. This gentleman took me home. He was lovely. And I called a friend who took me to the church. And I spoke to her and I said, are you seated? Because you need to be seated for this. And so I told her what I did that afternoon. And there was no response on the phone. And I'm like, are you there? Are you there? Can you hear me? She was like, I don't know what to say. This is so shocking. And and I just want to say this was one of the numerous miracles that happened to me. And I'm not inventing anything because this is too big for me to invent a story like
And
this.
why would you, really?
Yes, yes. And I want to say in several private readings with Eileen Davis and with other mediums, Bernadette de Lourdes has come through, giving me more messages. So miracles do happen. Another reality and many other realities do take place just side by our own reality. And what really counts is your little voice inside. Don't wait for someone to tell you how it is. Just feel, hear, and listen to it. We have our own voice, each one of us. And the beauty is to allow this miracle to take place.
Oh, Anita, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you to you, Sandra.
Ooh, you just left so inspiring. And you do have a website, which I just want to tell the listeners now, which is joy dash n dash medium.com. And the joy dash n, it's N for Nancy. Well, I don't know if it's for Nancy, but it's joy-n-medium.com, and you can contact Anita, and she does readings over the, well, in the skies, on the ground, over the phone,
Anywhere.
anywhere, anyhow. But what a beautiful woman you are, Anita, and I
Thank
thank
you.
you, really thank you for dedicating your life to this, being open, listening, sharing, being courageous, following your instincts, learning, and being with us here today really has been
It
wonderful.
couldn't be otherwise. It couldn't be otherwise. And being very grateful to you, Sandra. Thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And to our listener, thank you for being here. I tell you, I think maybe there might be a little flame growing inside some people right now thinking, ooh, could I do this? And nobody says you have to be a medium and accept clients, but just to know in your heart how close the spirit world is. And on occasion, you never know, some words might come out of your mouth for someone that really needs to hear it. So if you're interested in this, let's play, okay? So just a few things. You can look at all the past episodes on WeDon'tDieRadio.com. We have about 170 of them. It's crazy how far we've come in the last 2 years. Also, if you click the Insiders Club, you can get a free read of my book, We Don't Die, and also great healing audio called How to Survive Grief. And as a reminder, if you can, be bold and courageous and fly out to Scottsdale, Arizona in September 15th through 17th. Come meet me at this symposium. I tell you, there's nothing like it on earth. The people that are going to be there, oh my goodness. And if you can't, I understand. I do believe it's all going to be recorded. But I invite you to check out afterlifestudies.org. Anyways, and then go to Facebook if you're on it. If not, join. It's a good place to be. And just type in We Don't Die Listeners and, send a request to be part of the group. And of course, I say yes to everybody. But let's play. Let's just see what our community can do and develop. And let's meet some friends that we have for eternity. So in closing, my name's Sandra Champlain. I've been your host on We Don't Die Radio. And I do believe that life is an education for the soul and that your life here on earth is important. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.